right, we've got something very cool lined up for you. We are going to go on the record with our next panel that's going to be a live podcast recorded for Swisspreneur. The moderator, or let's say podcast host, is the CEO and current co-host of Swisspreneur, your #1 Swiss business podcast. They've been going for more than 9 years and over 500 episodes, from scaling businesses to bootstrapping to even founder mental health, all of the good stuff. But they're more than just a podcast. They do live events, and also now they have their syndicate. Their Swisspreneur syndicate to help people invest more and raise more capital. She's also the newly appointed CEO of Nouveau Campus, the workspace of the future. So I'm glad, because the title of this is Europe versus Silicon Valley, building the future of innovation. And when I asked her to share with me something personal, she told me that she was part of the Singing Christmas Tree. Who knows what the Singing Christmas Tree is? Yes, I was really glad I Googled it. Fascinating, and I love that as a tradition. So I'm hoping that she has a fabulous voice that she'll bring to stage. Her guest today, co-founder of SumUp, who has an incredible global track record, will be her sparring partner for today. She will tell you more about this gentleman. So please welcome to the stage. Welcome to the Startup Night stage, Merle Zeux and Peter Made.
After you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. There you are. How is everybody doing? Are you good? Yes? I can see some thumbs up. Have you had a good day/afternoon? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. Well done. Well, welcome, everyone. My name is Merle. I'm here in the name of Swisspreneur, and I'm very excited to talk to Peter today about Europe versus Silicon Valley. And fun fact, this is also a live recorded podcast that we will show on Swisspreneur very soon. And I look very technical because I have 2 very large iPads. But I don't need that one right now. This is for your questions later on. But first of all, of course, I want to know who's sitting here with me, and probably all of you do as well. So, Peter, you are one of the co-founders of SumUp and also a partner at EWOR. But I want to hear in your words, who are you?
Okay, so my name is Peter. I'm a father of 3 boys and married to a very, very trusting and nice wife who's let me live a very intense entrepreneurial lifestyle. I've built lots of different companies. I've spent the last 25 years in Fintech and payments, building multiple companies, some failing, some sort of succeeding, and one succeeded really, really big, which was SumUp. And SumUp was a company which I actually started while living in Switzerland the first time around. And it made me really, really annoyed that I couldn't pay with a card everywhere, especially on the top of a mountain at an Alphütte. And I was skiing with a family, and I wanted to pay for our 25-franc pizzas for lunch, and I couldn't. So I had to go down to the car, 45 minutes in the gondola, 45 minutes back up again to pay with cash. And that was sort of the thing that pushed me over the edge, that I can't believe that we're living in the dark ages and not able to pay with a card. So that was sort of the thing that motivated me to start SumUp, which today has grown into an amazing success. And together with UBS, I think you can pay with a card on every Alphütte in all of Switzerland today. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to ask you, because I also mentioned you are one of the partners of EWOR, which is an accelerator. What in your journey as a founder has now led to you also creating an accelerator? Where did you think, like, okay, something is still needed? What was it that was like defining a moment to you?
When I realized that my 3 sons are moving out, and I had to figure out what am I going to do next.
You needed something to do.
I needed something to do. No, jokes aside, I wanted to give back to the startup ecosystem, and I wanted to help others build their companies and hopefully avoid some of the stupid mistakes, boneheaded decisions, and other mess-ups that I've done in my career on the way to building these companies. And it's also really inspirational and motivating to work with founders who are struggling and building their businesses, and hopefully with the support that we're giving them through EWOR and spending 18 to sort of 6 to 18 months inside the EWOR program, they get a lot of support and help in developing themselves from the 0 to 1 stage, which is where most startups fail, and they don't even get to the pre-seed round to really raise funding to have a shot at building a successful company. So that's something that we at EWOR, we want to give the best of the best companies and entrepreneurs the chance to build even faster and to be competitive towards not just European companies, but especially those pesky US competitors.
Which is exactly what we want to talk about today.
Yes.
Building, what did we call it? Building the future of innovation. I know the title in and out. So what does innovation mean to you? And where can it grow?
Yeah, so I'm actually a student of innovation. I've read a lot of books on the subject, and I've always tried to create consistent innovation at all the companies where I've worked. And to me, my experience with building teams who innovate and who come up with great ideas and who work together in a collaborative and creative way has always been around having people from different backgrounds, different cultures, men and women almost evenly split is something I actually try to create in the teams that I build. But also having different viewpoints and coming from different industries, different verticals. At the end of the day, when you're discussing a product or a solution to a problem, it's always a much more interesting discussion if you have different ideas and different viewpoints. For me, the worst thing I could imagine would be going into a room with 10 people and they're all from Harvard MBAs. Everybody studied the same cases, they have the same ideas, they solve problems in the same way, versus a room full of 10 people coming from a variety of different backgrounds, cultures, verticals. You just have a completely different discussion. And usually, it's not so much the first great idea that wins, but it's the collaborative iteration around and ideas to solve the problem that really can come up with something unique and something original.
Mm. And what is the most usual case that you see or that you step into when you meet teams for the first time? Is it more homogeneous than you would wish for? Or what is the status quo?
That's a good question. So when I built SumUp, I hired the first 200 people myself. And when you're building a company from scratch, you choose the people you want to work with, you choose the company culture, you set that straight from the very beginning. And that's a really good position to be in, because then you're setting the North Star for the company, you're setting the mission, the vision, and the way that people should work together and treat each other in the company. That's really important. But when you come into an organization where you're taking over a team and they have their own company culture and their own habits and ideas and so on and so forth, I find that to be quite a lot more difficult, because you almost have to break it down to then build it back up again, so that they can start working in a more productive and efficient way, maybe, if it's a turnaround situation or somewhere where you want them to work in your way. People hate change, which sometimes you have to force them to do it.
Which actually brings me to the next question. Do you believe that innovation can be built through structure and processes, or does it need the more creativity and also timing?
I think you need you need to give innovation the space to grow, for people to be creative. As an example, so after I left SumUp as an operational role, I'm still a happy shareholder today. I built the product and the team at a company called Drooms, which is a virtual data room company for M&A and real estate transactions. 100 million deal sizes or bigger, where data security is really important. And there, as I built that team from basically zero, I think I inherited 2 or 3 people, and they had some external developers. In the end, I built a whole team of 75 people. And there, the most important thing was to give them space to innovate, to give them space to experiment with some ideas. So what we did was, we had 2 2-week sprints where we agreed on what we would work on and what we would develop. And then the 5th week, I called Crazy Week. And this was a week where everyone could experiment with some new technology. They could get together with some of the other team members, pick one from design, one from product, one from development, and then you would build something. We also used it to have senior developers pair program with junior developers so that they could develop their skills. So the Crazy Week was all about experimentation, learning, and development. The product managers could also present their ideas and use cases and user stories for the next sprints. But on the Friday, we would have like a demo day. So everyone would then sort of present what they'd built. And a lot of the Crazy Week projects that were developed actually were so cool and so good that they became a part of the main core platform of Drooms. So that was a way of motivating people to feel like they had agency, to be creative, and to try out new ideas. And that was sort of creating the environment where innovation could actually happen on a consistent basis. Because I don't think you can't turn it into a process. Innovation and creativity doesn't work that way. But if you give people agency and space and time to explore new ideas, then you can get a culture of innovation happening inside of a company. And that was something that I saw working and really generating super cool and interesting ideas, even as the company grew from, I think there were like 80 people when I joined and over 200 when I left.
But then basically through implementing a process or implementing a structure, you gave them the space to be creative.
I gave them a sandbox to play in.
Yeah. There's a structure.
A little bit.
So what I wanted to ask you as well is you've spent time in the US and in Europe around startups in both countries or both areas. First thing, what is the most striking difference to you?
The most striking difference when you come to San Francisco. So I was there in July and August this year, and EWOR did a residency there. So we were there for 7 weeks. I was there for the first 2.5 weeks, and we were meeting one investor for lunch, one for dinner, with 40 of our fellows there. And so they were pitching twice a day. They were doing Q&A with investors. And one of the things, and getting to know them, but one of the things that struck me was how incredibly optimistic and helpful all the investors and all the people we met were. Everyone will introduce you to a number of people if you have a specific space or vertical or type of company that you'd like to talk to. They're incredibly helpful and happy to introduce you to those people, kind of invite you into the ecosystem. They think it's very interesting when Europeans come over to San Francisco. It's almost like, wow, look at all the lions and the giraffes and the zebras. Like they're not used to seeing so many Europeans. And I think since we have a lot of talent from Europe, and a lot of our best talent goes over to the US to build or gets hired or acqui-hired, that was really the thing. The speed with which everything moved, everybody was always building. You walked around town and you saw B2B SaaS advertising on the bus stop posters, on the tram passing you on the street. It was, it's everything is about building companies and B2B software. Like the whole town is all about this. So that was one of the things that you immediately noticed.
And what are the things would you wish for to see more here?
So all of San Francisco is full of hacker houses, builder spaces, where people have come from all over the US, but all over the world. And they are building together. They are working on projects, products, they're working on startups. There seems to be an incredible energy in the city. Everyone is always talking about startups, working in startups, working on their new idea, even in their free time. People play pickleball, and it's this weird American sport where they kind of took tennis and paddle and combined it into an easier sport. It's a bit weird. You have to play it, but everybody plays pickleball. And even on the pickleball court, people are talking about startups and ideas. And it's like it's always about building and creating solutions to problems. Everyone who's there is involved in this industry somehow.
But where does it come from?
I don't know. I mean, Americans were the people who were the most desperate or risk-taking from Europe who went over there. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. There's just a general higher appetite for risk, and that's not just the people who are building startups. It's also with the investors. The investors have a much higher appetite for risk. They're willing to take risks. I mean, here in Europe, if I was to say out to this room, I have an opportunity to build a company, I need 50 million and it has a 10% chance of success. Anybody? How many hands?
There's one.
There's one. Are you American? No. If you did that in America, you'd get quite a few hands up in the air, which kind of just highlights and underlines that particular difference. And so the investors also move with a lot more speed. At the end of this 7-week residency, we did a pitch night for 150 investors in the Valley. And so someone gave us a venue for free and helped us to invite all these investors. And it was a huge success. 12 of our companies pitched. And in the following 2 weeks, they raised and were finished with their rounds, half of the companies. Whereas in Europe, it can take, 6 to 8 weeks or more. So the speed with which everything happened was just incredibly fast. That was definitely one of the things that stuck with me. Plus the valuations were 2 to 3 times higher there, even with the same amount raised.
But I mean, here in Europe, often also regulation kind of pushes innovation, right? We see that in, for example, if we look at climate innovation and all these areas. Is that not also a kind of a strength?
Well, we have a lot of innovation in terms of startups being built to service regulation and regulatory overhead. We've actually invested in a few of those. I believe that what we're seeing in the United States today with the current administration, where crime is legal, Europe stands for some sort of values and ethics that I think are something that's valuable and something that we should hold on to. But we also need to watch out so that we don't over-regulate ourselves. On the one hand, if you're building a company in Europe, let's say in payments or Fintech, yes, there's a number of regulatory hurdles that you need to contend with as you're building your company, but you can also see it as home court advantage, because the Americans are not going to come over and compete with you here very quickly, because they also have to learn about the regulatory environment and how to handle personal data, GDPR, and all of these things. So it can be an advantage of building at home in Europe, and then once you're big enough, strong enough, then you can go out and compete internationally in America and all the other global markets. That's something that we did at SumUp. I mean, SumUp was built out of Germany and the UK, and it's today in 37 countries with over 5 million small business customers. And so SumUp proved that it can be done. Unfortunately, I think the numbers vary, but in Europe, we have 14 unicorns, whereas the Americans have about 241. That's a hell of a difference, but it can be done. And we should be working harder to support our startups here in Europe to help them through the various phases of growth, especially in the scale-up phase and also in the later stage phase. That's where we're kind of missing capital allocation in Europe today. And the angel investing space, Europe is actually equal or maybe even a little bit better than the US. So thank God for all of the angel investors out there in Europe and here in Switzerland as well. But we also need more institutional money, more state pension funds. We need growth capital. We're lacking 35 to 50 billion in growth capital, Europe compared to the US right now. And late stage, it's the same. We really need to activate the capital allocation in Europe to be able to continue growing all the things that we're doing really well in the earlier stages.
And now when we look at who is here tonight, we have different groups here. We have founders, we have corporates, we have the ecosystem. What can each of these groups actually do? They leave the stage, well, maybe not tomorrow, it's Saturday. Let's say Monday. What can they do?
I mean, for founders, I think being part of events like this, meeting each other, going to hackathons. I think hackathons are going to be something that we'll be seeing a lot more of going forward. We have companies now like Lovable, Cursor, tools that allow you to actually build a real product within 24 to 48 hours. So I think that hackathons are going to have talent both from design, product people, as well as really cracked developers going forward, which will mean that there will be the opportunity to actually invest in teams that come together at hackathons. And I think it's a great place to gather talent, to put talent on display and show what you can do in a stressful environment. It's kind of like a mini pressure cooker, like a small little test of entrepreneurial ability as well, right? Mm. I think this is something that's important. In terms of ecosystem founders, conference companies, I think this is so important. What Europe is really, really good at, I think it is building community. Yes, in San Francisco, they're doing it incredibly well, but we can do it really well in Europe as well. I've been to a number of different countries in the past 3-4 months, meeting up with the ecosystem builders, the community builders, and seeing their workspaces, their hacker houses, doing a 3-month program with people invited from all over the world working together. There was one in Espoo, Finland, called FR8, or Freight, as they call it. And that was a 3-month program. There were people from India, from the US, MIT, TUM, ETH. There were an incredible group of people. And they were like family at the demo day 3 months into this program. So they had help from mentors, helping them build. And they were getting up and doing a cold plunge in the ocean every morning together, everyone. And it was just an incredible vibe and the spirit of innovation and building there. We need more of this. We need this in every single startup hub or capital in Europe. And we need to be talking with each other. I was in Station F in Paris last week. And this is the single biggest installation supporting entrepreneurs I've ever seen in my life. It's the biggest in the world. Here again, Europe is showing how it can lead. But it took a French billionaire to say that we need to do something here. And he invested 200 million of his own money, took 1.5 years, and renovated an old cargo rail yard into a gigantic installation that has over 50 accelerators. It has all of the big LLM companies. It has corporates, and it has a restaurant section. And so it's just a gigantic hub that puts out 1,000 startups a year. And I saw this and I thought, wow, this is amazing. They have conferences, hackathons, people are meeting each other, running into each other. It's like engineering serendipity for innovation and startups to actually have a chance of being built. I think every single country in Europe should have a Station F. Like that would be something that also investors can go and talk to state pension funds and try to gather this capital so that we can have these kinds of investments in innovation hubs all across Europe, and then connect them so that we're all talking to each other. So one thing EWOR is working on is trying to connect all of these ecosystems, all these hacker houses, all of these builders, so that in Europe we can be like a neural network where everybody contributes with what is uniquely European and can contribute to this innovation power that I talked about before. Through diversity and differences of ideas, I think we can be even more competitive than the Americans, who are one culture, one country, one language. I really think that this is something where we could have an advantage, but it means that we need to invest and we need to connect and we need to reach out and talk more with each other across Europe.
He showed me pictures of the Station F before. It looks very impressive. I want to give you the option also to ask questions, and while I figure this out, I want to ask you one in the meantime. What is one single thing that you would tell a founder who wants to expand globally? One single advice.
Build a playbook how to do it. Figure out what it is that you need to do to expand into one extra country. And it doesn't have to be the specifics of that country, but it needs to be the list of all the things that you need to do in order to be able to successfully expand into another country. Because if you figure that out for one country, you can then repeat that playbook for all the other countries. That's what we did at SumUp. We had one founder, that was one of his main responsibilities, was to write and to execute the playbook.
Do you see the QR code to ask questions? Yes? Okay. I like this one. The first question is, what is one piece of advice that has changed your life and you'd like to share it with others?
That's a great question. Someone once told me when I was super frustrated in a situation, I was working in a company, and I was frustrated with the founder of the company who I was working with or working for, and I thought that he wasn't keeping my speed, he wasn't supporting me with the resources that I needed to make the company run faster. And I had a leadership coach, and he said to me, "Petter, you've got to lead your leader. It's your responsibility, and there are no excuses." And I took that advice to heart, and changed my perspective on the situation, and yeah, I was able to get the result I wanted out of it.
I like that one. That's really nice. Another question would be, what was your biggest fuck up as a founder?
Wow, so many to choose from. Wow. I hope there are no management consultants in the room. I guess there will be a few. I once built a startup. I was the CTO, and we had Boston Consulting Group as investors, and they also put in one consultant and one associate as resources in the team. And they laid out our business strategy for the company. And let's suffice to say, they were going to disintermediate the broker layer in a marketplace for oil shipping and the shipping container market, or the oil shipping industry. And we were going to go in and cut out both the brokers in the transaction who are doing 1.25% per contract. We were going to just charge half of what was costing the transaction. But I learned there that the management consultants don't have all the answers. So what happened was that the brokers were incredibly close to their clients, so much so that they went to their to their customers' bar mitzvahs, weddings. They took them skiing once a year with their families. And cutting the brokers out of this market was never going to happen. And so the fantastic tool we built turned into a documentation tool for contracts instead of the hockey stick billion-dollar unicorn we thought that we were going to build. So watch out. You can't disrupt all markets. Sometimes relationships weigh way much heavier than technology.
I unfortunately have to say we are already over the time. There's so many really good questions that are popping in.
We can steal one more.
I'll just do one
Come on,
more.
let's go. Yeah.
Would be talking about Europe versus Silicon Valley. What was the role of government, universities, pension funds to make Silicon Valley what it is?
Yeah. So
Make it short.
yes. So Silicon Valley is basically what you get when you have super successful startup founders building unicorns, exiting the market, and then taking that money and stepping back in and creating venture capital companies, becoming angel investors, and reinvesting that capital in every new generation and wave of companies that are being created. And when you do that since the 1980s, you get Silicon Valley. And here in Europe, we haven't been doing this. A lot of our pension fund money gets invested into ETFs, even into American ETFs. We need to be investing European capital in Europe, and we need to be investing in ecosystems and as angels in European companies, and then we need to build on that for several generations. I'm seeing it in the Nordics now. I'm a member of Nordic Angels, which is a network of 2,000 angel investors in the Nordics, and they are investing in young startups where we're seeing also like the founders of Lovable, the founders of Legora, the two very successful Swedish unicorns right now building. Those founders have already made 15 to 20 investments in young companies, and that is the kind of activity and paying it forward and helping those who are coming up and building behind you. This, I think, can create a really vibrant ecosystem also here in Europe. But also going back to what I said before, we need to connect all of our startup hubs, and we need to have builder spaces and hacker houses so that we make it exciting and interesting for young talent to realize that I can actually build a company, to make them believe this. I think the time for Europe is now, so go out there and figure out how we can build this amazing European ecosystem to rival that of Silicon Valley.
Best words to finish up. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having us and for listening to us. And if you have any questions, he'll be around. Thank you.